Guys, starting us off today, it is of course the two copies of the Golden Boy, Eldlich, the Golden Lord. This guy, I'm cheating on him with Alistair, don't tell him. So basically, you can send any one of our spell and traps from our hand to the graveyard along with the Golden Boy to send any card your opponent has on the field to the graveyard. That way it doesn't, yes it targets, but it doesn't destroy, and it can out quite a bit of things. And also you can resurrect the Golden Boy by sending any spell or trap you control to the graveyard, and then Eldlich can summon himself with 1,000 more attack points and can't be destroyed by card effects. All in all, absolute babe. We've got two copies of Fleur de Luce. The reason we got like this on the Dogma engine was because I liked having this guy at 2 because he was basically a monster negate that I could keep getting back. So during the main phase, if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, so if you control one or your opponent does, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then if you control another Dogma monster, you can negate one face-up monster on the field, and that effect doesn't target. So it can even target Dragoon. So if your opponent allows Fleur de Luce's summon to go through, he negates a face-up monster. So yep, he's really nice to out Dragoon, and also should this card attack, it can give all Dogma monsters, including itself, a 500 more attack points permanent increase. That's really nice. Now, I'm running one copy of Dogmatika Maximus. I mainly run this if I'm playing cards like Punishment or Nadir, simply because you can banish any one of your extra deck monsters that you sent to the graveyard off Nadir or Punishment. And then you can send then both players have to send 2 extra deck monsters from the deck to the graveyard. This sets up our plays, sets up what we want to do. Like, we could nuke the field, we could bounce a card back, we could set for the Shadow place, and we can search a Dogma card. The rest is up to you. The downside is you just can't special summon from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, but realistically you're not going to because Nadir and Punishment also lock you. So it's not like you're going to have that much of a problem. 3 copies of Ecclesia. Ecclesia is basically the searcher for the deck along with Nadir. Upon being summoned, you get to add any Dogma monster from your deck to hand. So you can add the Punishment, you can add Maximus or Fleur de Luce. And also, Ecclesia cannot be destroyed in battle by a monster from the extra deck. So it's really nice if your opponent's extra deck heavy. In addition, Ecclesia can be special summoned if your opponent has a special summon monster. So that means if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, special summon it and not even waste your normal summon. But the best bit is, I should say the only downside is about Ecclesia, if you use her ability, again, you're locked out of the extra deck for the rest of the turn. Not that it does, again, it doesn't really have a problem because Eldlich doesn't really need to use his extra deck, but it's just something to just please bear in mind. And I've got 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I'm just running Ash Blossom because she's one of the best hand traps, simply because you can there's a lot of searching in the form of Dry Tron and the form of Virtual World, and also in just other decks in gen, or even non-meta ones like Cyber Dragons, Black Wings, they do a lot of searching. So Ash Blossom just shuts it down. Your opponent adds a card from the deck to their hand, special summon from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the grave. She just shuts them down. And then we've got 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. And the reason why we're running Droll is because against meta decks, it just shuts them down. In a mirror match, my opponent was running a Invoked half. He played Magical Meltdown, and because he added a card from his deck to his hand, I could play Droll's ability, so then he couldn't add any other cards from his deck to his hand for that turn, which pretty much shut down the Invoke because he had Alistair in hand, but he couldn't add Invocation because Droll prevents him from adding the Invocation. And it also against Drytron, it just forces your opponent to instantly end the turn. Against other decks that particularly play searching through the deck, Necro Valley Dragoon, Droll just shuts them down. Have a nice day. And that's it for the monsters, guys. A really short monster lineup, but spells. We're running 1 Elixir of Black Awakening. This summons out 1 zombie from our deck or hand, but if we control no Eldlich monsters, we have to summon out the Golden Boy. But best bit is, you can banish this card other than the turn you activated it to add or to set a Golden Land spell or trap directly from your deck. We've got 3 copies of Nadir Servant. With this, we send any one of our extra deck monsters to the graveyard to add any Dogma monster from our deck to our hand. So that means Nadir Servant can add Ecclesia, and Ecclesia can add another monster, milling out your deck that even more, on top of sending cards to the grave. So we could send, the Dogma Fusion if you want to search out more cards. We could send El Shadow Accolade if you want to do the Shadow play. Enters to pop a card. You can go into Windpex's Atagnister for the protection play, the world is your oyster with Nadir's Servant. Now, I'm running 3 pots of Pot of Prosperity because whenever you looked at decks for like Eldlich decks, people was always running Pot of Extravagance. But that was before Pot of Prosperity was released. So I think this card, in my opinion, is better over Extravagance because you can manually choose what you want out of your extra deck. Well, Extrav, it's random. So it's like if you know, right, I'm going up against, I don't know, Necro Valley Dragoon. You don't need the Shadow play simply because your opponent ain't going to be special summoning more than like once in the duel or once in a turn anyway. So Winter's not really useful in that situation. So like I say, you can manually like take it out, so then you can still keep all of your pop cards in order to help you out. And then if you send 3 cards from your extra deck to the grave, you get to check 3 cards in your deck. Or 3 cards on the top of your deck and add one of them to your hand. If you did 6, you can check the top 6 cards of your deck and add one of them to your hand. Really great. But the downside is all battle damage your opponent or all damage your opponent takes is sliced in half. But you can activate this card at the end of main phase 2. So you can do all your damage that you would normally do, then just play Pot to just like search out one of our traps, one of our like hand traps or anything, and then just end your turn because it has no restrictions. So, yeah, 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. 3 copies of Cursed Outland because it just basically searches out Eldlich or any one of the Golden Land spell or traps from my deck to hand. And also, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send a Golden Land, so basically Hakrero or Conquistador, directly to the graveyard, which will then trigger their abilities as well. So, yeah, Cursed Outland is just great for searching, and also it's just great for getting the Golden Land, for getting the Golden Boy if you want to send a card. And that's it for the spell, guys. Very nice and simple. Going on to the traps. 3 copies of Punishment. You send 1 face-up extra deck monster. One extra deck monster we have to the graveyard, equal or more than 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Then, the monster gets destroyed. And then again, if you send the Entis, you can pop another card, and everything else I've already explained. So really great for Punishment. The only downside of Punishment, it locks you for the next turn after you play it. So Maximum, Servant, and Ecclesia only lock you for the turn you play them. Punishment prevents you from playing the turn after as well. But in this deck, it doesn't really matter. 3 copies of Scarlet Sanguine. Scarlet Sanguine lets us special summon Eldlich from our deck or graveyard. Really great if your opponent's trying to banish Eldlich because you can just like chain Scarlet Sanguine and then summon Eldlich from the graveyard so it gets around their banish effects. The downside is you can only special summon zombies after you play Scarlet Sanguine. Please bear that in mind. And this card has an effect where you can banish it from the graveyard to set Conquistador or Hakrero directly from your deck, but you can't play both effects in one turn. Please bear that in mind. Then we've got Ice Dragon's Prison. This card outs Dragoon. Have a nice day. It outs a lot of decks. So if your opponent, majority of the time, your opponent is running like one type of monster. So Plunder Patrols are running all Fiends. Drytrons running Machines, all Fairies. Dragoon obviously is a Dragon, and Red Eyes Black Dragon is a spellcaster, and obviously Dark Magician spellcaster. One of the two. It can out Dragoon. Then Blackwing is all going to be Wing Beast. Ice Dragon's Prison can resurrect 1 monster your opponent controls, and then you banish it along with one opponent. Then you banish it along with 1 monster your opponent controls, which is the same attribute. Oh, sorry, which is the same type. So if I had, I don't know, I'm going up against Drytron. They have Alpha, and I resurrect Gamma from their graveyard. Yep, they're both going. So have a nice day. And also, this card doesn't target, and it doesn't destroy, it just flat out banishes. So outs near enough every card. 3 copies of Conquistador. Conquistador lets us special summon it as a normal monster, and if you control Eldlich, the Golden Boy, you can target you can destroy 1 face-up card on the field. So because that effect, that effect does destroy, but it doesn't target. Really great. And then you can obviously during the end phase, if you didn't play this card's effect this turn, you can banish it to set an Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine or Black Awakening from the deck. And Hakrero is exactly the same, but instead of destroying a card, it lets you banish 1 card in the graveyard if you control Eldlich, which is good against like Invoked because you can get around the you can banish the Alistair, so then they can't play Invocation. you like against like a mirror match, like eldlich mirror match, you can banish their own eldlich, because then that way they can't, because then that way all of their cards are disrupted. It just outs any card that tries to trigger from the, or that's like, if your opponent's got that pesky card in the grave, you can just remove it from play, just say sayonara. And then I'm running Shadow Schism. This is searchable with Act Cologne, and this just lets us go into Winder during our opponent's turn, because then it shuts down our opponent from like special summoning more than once if they have a if they've got like a deck that can like really special summon, because Winder just locks them down. Have a nice day, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that's it for the deck. That's it for the deck, guys. On to the extra deck. We're running 2 copies of the Ash Dragon. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can during the end phase you can add a Dogma monster from your deck to your hand. Obviously, we've got cards like Servant and Nadia to get this card into the graveyard, and also we have Maximus and also to get this card into the graveyard. And in order to go into Winder, you're going to use Schism to banish Ash Dragon and Act Cologne from your graveyard to go into Winder, because obviously Ash Dragon is a dark attribute monster. If Act Cologne is sent to the graveyard, we get to add any Shadow card, so basically either Act Cologne or Schism, and add it to our hand. Then we have to discard a card. So you can just like pitch like Eldlich, gets him into the graveyard if you want to play his graveyard ability, but then you get access to Shadow Schism. Then Shadow Schism, like I say, during your opponent's next main phase, you can banish Act Cologne and the Dragon in order to go into Winder. And for Winder, both players can only special summon once in the turn. So that means, unless your opponent has a way to negate Winder, yep, they only get a special summon once. Have a nice day. And Winder cannot be destroyed by card effects, so please bear that in mind. We've got 3 copies of Entis. If Entis is sent to the graveyard, you can destroy, or you can target and destroy 1 card on the field. This effect isn't once per turn, so if you played Maximus' ability, or your opponent played a Maximus, if you're doing like a mirror match, and you sent 2 Entises to the graveyard, you're going to destroy 2 cards on the field. So that's really, really sweet. We've got Omega. I normally banish this off of Pot of Prosperity. However, if you can, however, he does have a graveyard ability where you can target this and 1 card in the grave and add them back into your hand. So that's really great. We've got Wind Pegasus at Agnista. This card, surprisingly, is really, really, really good. So should any one of your cards be destroyed, like by battle or by card effect, while this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and shuffle it back into the deck. So that means if you're going up against a Dogma mirror match, your opponent 9 times out of 10, if they play Maximus, is going to send Entis to the grave. So if you see that Entis going to the grave, just send Wind Pegasus, because then that way you can instantly out 1 card your opponent has, weakening their board. And then, of course, if you're doing it for other players, it's just great for like playing on the defensive, because your opponent has to think, right, if I destroy their monster, I'm getting a card bounce back. We've got 1 copy of Zeus. We're basically going to use Zeus by going into Gustav Max or going into Pleiades. We'll get to them in a second. If either Gustav or Pleiades attacks, we get to go into Zeus. And then Zeus can send 2 Xyz materials from himself to the graveyard and send every other card on the field to the grave. This card, that effect isn't once per turn, and it's a quick effect. So Zeus is an absolute animal. We've got Gustav Max, because Eldlich is level 10. If you get 2 Eldliches in play, which is actually surprisingly easily, you can go into Gustav Max. You can deal 2,000 points of damage to your opponent if that's it for game. It's like Cowboy for game, but just better. And then if Gustav attacks, you can just use Gustav to go into Zeus and have a nice day. It's the same thing for Pleiades, because Conquistador and Hakuero are both level 5s. So that means you can use both of these 2 to go into Pleiades, and then obviously if Pleiades attacks, it can go into Zeus. And Pleiades has a quick effect of his own, where you can detach 1 Xyz material, target 1 card on the field, and return it to the hand. Not a bad effect. I'm running Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because it's so easy to get 3 monsters on the field with different names, so this is that. And also, if you used Eldlich to get Eldlich back into the graveyard, Soldier of Chaos can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And also, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can either banish a card, have this guy attack twice, or have this card gain 1,500 attack points. So near enough is really great. Nightmare Phoenix to out back row if I need to. Need 2 monsters with different names. You can pitch 1 card in your hand. Again, if you need to get like that Eldlich or one of your eldlich cards to get into the graveyard for their graveyard effects, please go for it. And then also you can destroy one spell or trap your opponent controls. And then Link Spider, because Haquero and Conquistador are normal monsters, you can link them off to go into Link Spider. And then obviously during the end phase, you can banish them to go in. So to go and set Scarlet Sanguine, so you can get out the Golden Boy. And that's it for the deck, guys. Going on to the extra deck, I am running 2 copies of Lancia in case I'm going up against like Eldlich Mirrors, because it really helps. Like any deck that likes to banish cards, like banish their cards, this card alone just shuts it down. It's just like, have a nice day. It's just like GG's. GG's, that's really great. 3 copies of Cycle Reader. Cycle Reader, if you're going up against Drytron or Eldlich, this card is absolute beast. Because during our play's turn, you can discard this card, target 2 light monsters in the grave, and banish them, like I say, against Eldlich or against Drytron, which are all light. It just shuts them down and have a nice day. 3 copies of Ghost Bell, because if you're because she's basically like the opposite of Ash Blossom. So if your opponent is playing like a very heavy graveyard effects like Plunder Patrol or Eldlich, this card's great, because if your opponent like adds a card from the grave to the hand, special summons a monster from the grave, or banishes a monster or banishes a card from the grave, she just shuts them down. Have a nice day. I'm running 3 Effect Veiler if I need to keep pushing to negate more monsters. Again, you can take this out for other things if you want. I just run it for this. I'm running 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone in case I go up against an Eldlich Mirror match, or I'm going up against like Mystic Mind players or like anti-meta Gravekeepers, simply because you can target 1 spell trap your opponent controls and banish it. So you can banish the Necro Valley. If you banish the Eldlich spell or traps, that is the biggest weakness. It shuts them down. Really great. And also, like I say, it's just great like for removal. And then I'm running 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. The reason why I'm playing Droplet is because Dragoon is a threat in this meta, and also, like I say, people are starting to play anti-meta Gravekeepers after the recent YCS, so this just shuts it down even better. This card alone can out Dragoon, because you can send a monster from your hand to the graveyard, then your opponent cannot play monster effects in response to it, and you can negate Dragoon's ability and make him lose half his attack point. So now you've got a Dragoon with 1500 attack that can't use its special ability. So that means even Ecclesia can out the Dragoon. So that's why we played. So that's why we played this for that. And that's it for the deck, guys. I do hope you enjoy. I will see you in the replays. I will take care, guys. Hope you all have a great day or night. Take care. Goodbye, guys. Okay, guys, starting off with some replays. I'm going to do in like a play-by-play. I wonder how this dressed. I haven't sped this up. This is what Omega has as the standard one, so please be aware with this. So my opponent's going first. This is a go second deck. He plays extra, banishes 6 cards, and he manages to get his Terraforming to get the Necro Valley. I think you know where this is going, guys. He plays the whatever the Commandment's ability to get a second Necro Valley, so he can play his Henchman's ability, so they can go in to Anaconda, which means it is the Anaconda. So he goes into the Red Eyes Dragoon. Yes, that does mean this is, of course, Necro Valley Dragoon, which is a very toxic deck. So that doesn't really blind us, because we do have access to the Droplet. So by sending any one of our monsters to the graveyard, we can negate Dragoon and make him lose 1500 attack points, because obviously there's half his attack. We sent Maximus, we don't need it, and also Dragoon cannot respond to the Droplet because we sent a monster. So then we go into Ecclesia. Ecclesia is going to let us add Fleur de Luz directly to our hand. So then we can, like, because he has a monster that's special from the extra deck, we can summon out Fleur de Luz, and it will gain 500 attack points and have a nice day. So that's what we end up doing, and also Ecclesia will gain 500 attack from Fleur de Luz as well, so we can maximise on our damage before we play our pot. He tries to negate Fleur de Luz's ability with Dragoon, forgetting that it is negated, so sucks to be him. So he basically wasted a Necro Valley. So now Ecclesia attacks, we deal some really great damage, then we fire off that pot, banishing 6 cards from our extra deck, and then we get to dig 6 cards deep into our deck. And what I decide to get is Nadia's Servant, because I'm going to play Nadia's Servant to pop Necro Valley, so then my graveyard is now back in play, because I do have that Cursed Eldland in hand, so that means I can go for the Eldlich play in order to go into the graveyard. Obviously, if my cards are in the graveyard and Necro Valley is in play, I can't do that. So, because he already discarded Necro Valley and we're going to pop this Necro Valley, he only has one left in his deck. So, Nadir Servant, I send the Entis then pops his field spell, and then we get our Dogmatika Fleur de Lis in case he special summons a monster from the extra deck again, then we can negate its ability. So we're all set up for turn 2. So turn 2, he literally summons Red Eyes Wyvern and then attacks into Ecclesia to get into the graveyard. I think he forgot that you can't play Wyvern's ability the turn you normal summon. So he basically sets one card and passes. Redraw, I'm thinking, okay, let's not flex and going for the attack. He does play his own Droplet, discarding both our cards, and he did discard that last. If you saw, he did discard a Necro Valley. So we've altered all 3 copies of Necro Valley in the deck. So look, it's there. We no longer have to worry about Necro Valley anymore. So that's all 3 of them gone. Because he discarded 2 cards off Droplet, both our monsters have their attack points sliced in half. So that means he barely survives this turn with like 300 life points. So then we literally just set the Ice Dragon's Prison. We play Cursed Outland as well. So then we can add Conquistador and set up for next turn. Because then we can add the Golden Boy to hand. I set Ice Dragon's Prison and ends our turn. He sets 1 card, and then during the end phase, he plays Red Eyes Wyvern's ability to try and summon out Red Eyes Dragoon, because it has Red Eyes in its name. However, I chain Ice Dragon's Prison. Ice Dragon's Prison could out Dragoon anyway, but this has a really sweet card, so I can resurrect his Dragoon to my side of the field. So then that way, I don't no longer have to worry about Dragoon. His effects are negated, but now I have his boss monster, and all he can do is resurrect Red Eyes Black Dragon from his graveyard. So now it's basically a sealed lock. I play Cursed Outland's ability again to add the Golden Boy, because Cursed Outland does stop me from attacking other than zombies. So then I was going to play Eldlich's ability to resurrect from the graveyard to then attack. So yep, sweet c'est la vie, then the opponent leaves. Nice duel against the Anti-Mare. So now another one. Again, we're going second because this is a go second deck. So our opponent literally just passes. They legit don't have anything. So I play Cursed Outland in order to add Eldlich to my deck. I then decide to out Cursed Outland with Scarlet Sanguine to send my own Cursed Outland to the grave. This way I can get Eldlich into the grave to trigger his graveyard ability to get him up to full power. So then, because Cursed Outland hit the graveyard, its ability triggers, sending Haquero, so then we can banish it during the end phase to get our access to another copy of Scarlet Sanguine. I summon out Ecclesia. Ecclesia then meets with an Ash Blossom, and that makes me think, why did he not negate just the Cursed Outland to begin with? But c'est la vie. So then we play Eldlich's ability to resurrect to out my Cursed Outland again, summon him to the field. He gains 1,000 more attack points, and that's 5,000 points of damage straight on the field in one go. So that alone puts him down to 3,000 life points. We then play Scarlet Sanguine's ability to set Conquistador. I then set Ice Dragon's Prison. Then Haquero banishes itself to set a copy of Scarlet Sanguine. So we're all set up. We even got a Ghost Spell in hand. We did side her in. This is the game 2. We side her in, and we're all good to go. Then he decides to play Evenly Matched, wiping out my field. I decide to keep the Golden Boy. Reason being, unless he has a monster with over 3,500 attack, I'm Gucci, because the Golden Boy can't be destroyed by card effects this turn. Yes, I know I had like Ice Dragon's Prison and all these other cards, but banishing Eldlich couldn't really hurt me because obviously my cards trigger if Eldlich is in play, not if he's banished. So that's the reason that I decided to keep Eldlich. He sets one monster and sets one card. So now we drew another Ecclesia. Of course, we summon out Ecclesia. Ecclesia is going to let me get punishment. I decided to add punishment because he doesn't have access to an extra deck monster currently, so I think there's no point going for Fleur de Lis. So I decided to go for this punishment for a pop because I think that's going to be more beneficial for this deck. So I then attack with Ecclesia, and it turns out he's playing Plunder Patrol. I've never played Plunder Patrol until this duel, so it was actually a very nice surprise. And then the Golden Boy just swings over for the battle, putting him down to 500 life points. I set punishment, and that ends my turn. In the end phase, he plays Plunder Patrol Booty to try to resurrect the monster that I sent to the graveyard, but that will trigger Ghost Bell's ability, where we can send Ghost Bell to the grave to negate the booty. Now he draws. He plays Redbeard. Redbeard's ability, I believe, can... oh no, never mind. He plays Redbeard. He banishes his spell to equip Redbeard with whatever that card is. We'll find out in a second. Emblem of the Plunder Patrol. He plays Emblem's ability to send to the graveyard, summon out a extra deck monster. I'm going to chain this with punishment, simply being, I know if he tries to out one of my monsters, I'm gone here. So what I do is pop his monster, so then it kind of limits his resources, so he can't like go inside Link players. And also I can send Wind Pegasus to the graveyard. So if he does, so if Plunder Patrol or Plunder Patrol ship Brawn or whatever it's called outs one of my monsters or outs one of my cards, Wind Pegasus outs one of his cards. So it's just there for the insurance, because again, I've never played Plunder Patrol. I have no clue what on earth the deck likes to do. So now due to his own Plunder Patrol monster's effect, Redbeard gets equipped to Brawn. So now if I played a spell or trap, he can negate it. So I'm glad I played Punishment. Then Brawn is going to attack into Ecclesia, but Ecclesia can't be destroyed in battle by a monster with special summon from the extra deck. So now he literally ends his turn. So now we just literally swing in with the Golden Boy, destroying both our monsters, and then Ecclesia ends the duel. So we kind of got lucky against that, but yeah, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So against this next guy, guys, we're against Pat, bless him. Again, Pat makes me go first, which is kind of weird. Obviously, most probably knows I'm playing Eldlich. I play Cursed Outland, but then Pat fires off Dimension Shifter. So now under Dimension Shifter, any one of our cards is going to get banished. Obviously, that hurts Eldlich like crazy, because if they're banished, your cards can't recur their effects. But we do have access to Cursed Outland. That I use its ability to try and search. He then fires off an Ash Blossom. So that kind of baits out the Ash Blossom in a way. So then we fire out Elixir of Black Awakening, summons Eldlich directly from the deck in defense mode, and then of course our card gets banished. We set Conquistador and we set Haquero. So because we've got Golden Boy, we have a pop and we can banish one card in the graveyard. I mean, Pat is also under Dimension Shifter this turn, so it doesn't really bother us one little bit. He seems to be playing S-Force. He plays S-Force, Edge Laser. Not got a clue what laser does. Let's actually have a peek. So I have no clue what the card wants to do. If this card is not a special summon, you can special summon one S-Force from your hand. So he plays the S-Force. So he plays Laser's ability to summon out Rapper. Rapper's ability lets him bounce Rapper back into his hand. I believe to summon out a S-Force monster from the deck. So he bounces Rapper back, special summons out Gravitino. Gravitino lets him add a S-Force card from his deck to his hand. So he's going to add the S-Force card, like the Showdown. Then Showdown summons out Rapper. Then he's going to go into the S-Force Link monster, being Justify. And because now if Justify battles a monster that is pointing to its linked, he can banish those monsters. So because he's summoned out Justify, I'm then going to trigger Conquistador. Conquistador, because I control the Golden Boy, pops one card in his field. So I pop Justify, and that ends Pat's turn because he only has one card in his hand, and that's seen the writing on the wall. Rip the new cards. So now we draw again. I'm going second against Thesis, I believe. He plays He plays Invoke. Obviously, Alistair, the guy I'm cheating on, he adds Invocation. Now he does all the Invocation plays. Going into Mechaba, so now he has an Omnigate. Then he plays Nadir Servant. So this is Invoke Dogmatika versus Eldlich Dogmatika Eldlich. So now because he's played Nadir Servant, obviously he sent Celine, so he gets to add Ecclesia. Because he has a monster special summoned, Ecclesia can special summon from the extra deck, special summon himself. he gets to add Maximus. Because he's got a monster in the graveyard that's from the extra deck, especially it can banish it, summon out Maximus in defense mode. But this is what the problem is with Dogmatika. If you do a Dogmatika like mirror match, your opponent can send the cards that they have also as if that was your own Maximus. So I sent 2 copies of Entis to the grave, and both of them were targeting Mechaba. So that way, even if he played Mechaba's ability to negate one of them, the other one would destroy Mechaba. So no matter what, Mechaba is going to leave this battlefield. So he either negates one, and he doesn't negate either one of them. He decides to get rid of his own Gamma of the Akalone's ability. So we know one of his set face down cards is going to be Shadow Schism to go into Winder to try to lock down my plays. And then Invocation obviously adds Alistair back into his hand. And then he gets to add Fleur de Lis, so now he has another monster negate if he summons out Winder, which we do need to take into consideration. I fire off my own Nadir Servant, sending on my last copy of Entis. I decide to pop one of his back row, hoping to snipe like something good. If it's the Shadow, I don't care. If it isn't, if it is, then here that's good. And then we decide, we do hit Ice Dragon's Prism, which is really great in this situation. We summon out Ecclesia. Ecclesia gets to add my own Fleur de Lis to hand, so that if he does summon Winder, we can negate it. I play Pot of Prosperity, banish 6 cards, check the top 6 cards of my deck. I got Cursed Outland. So I'm going to play Cursed Outland, use its ability to add the Golden Boy directly to my hand. Now the Golden Boy's ability, I can pitch it and my own Schism because since he's going to do the Schism play, I have no access for Winder. It legit does not, it's not going to do much against him, it's not going to do much against me. So now I'm going to play Eldlich's ability to out his other face down card. I know it's Schism, but it's just going to force him to play it anyway, which he most probably didn't want to do it now. Now we're under Winder. So now I play my own Fleur de Lis to negate Winder's ability. So now Winder can no longer stop me from special summoning the Golden Boy from the graveyard. Of course, since Cursed Outland hit the grave, we get to send Haquero. Then he plays his own Fleur de Lis to try to and negates mine, so that means it and Ecclesia will not gain the attack point increase. So now I try to swing over Winder. He plays Alistair's ability to destroy Fleur de Lis by giving it 1,000 more attack. We swing over his Fleur de Lis so his monsters doesn't gain an attack increase. Then we set both our cards, banish Haquero from the graveyard to set Scarlet Sanguine, and that ends our turn. So we're not really in a bad situation, we've really got a good commanding lead. So now he plays his own Cursed Outland, which means this is a die deck, meaning Dogmatika invoked Eldlich. So Cursed Outland has a little bit of a drawback. If you destroy Cursed Outland before the search goes off, he won't get the search. So he plays Cursed Outland to try and add like an Eldlich or one of the Golden Man cards from his deck to his hand. I chain Conquistador. Conquistador's effect, because I control the Golden Boy, out Cursed Outland. So now he can't add the card to his hand. Then Cursed Outland sends obviously sends one of his Golden Man cards to the grave. He plays Maximus, sending his own Entis. I saw he sent Entis, so I sent Winged Pegasus at Ignista. So now he played Entis to pop my back row, which was Scarlet Sanguine. Because he destroyed one of my cards, Winged Pegasus returns Winder to his extra deck. So now neither of us are under Winder, so now it doesn't hurt me anymore. Then both of us do our Eldlich plays, banishing our cards from our graveyard. I set Haquero, and he set Scarlet Sanguine. And then the Ash Dragon lets me add Fleur de Lis to my hand, and I top deck Ash Blossom. I play Haquero. And with Haquero, I'm going to banish out his Alistair from the graveyard, so now that's Alistair gone. I seize into Pleiades. I decide to out Maximus since I can't out it with attack power. So now I go on the offensive, attack Ecclesia. Pleiades attacks him directly. He plays Scarlet Sanguine. I chain this with Ash Blossom to negate its effect, and then I attack directly with Ecclesia. And then cause an Xyz monster attacks this turn. I can use Pleiades to go into Zeus. which then he sees the writing on the wall and leaves. Now guys, the beauty bits. This guy we're against Code. Code sets one card and passes. Again, we play Nadia's Servant. This lets us add our Maximus. We've decided to send Enters just to see what card he played, and it was a punishment. I then summon out Ecclesia. Ecclesia lets me then... I play Ecclesia to add a Dogma card. That eats his Ash Blossom. I banish Entis to summon out Maximus. I play Maximus's ability to mill 2 cards. I send the Ash Dragon and the Accolone. He sends Entis in order to pop my cards. This lets me get access to Shadow Schism, which I set, and then I remove Hoquero to add Scarlet Sanguine, and then I get to add Fleur de Lis off the Ash Dragon. And he summons out Ecclesia, which means he can add his own Fleur de Lis off of... Oh no, he's going to add Punishment, never mind. He then summons out Spriggan's Rocky, so this is a Spriggan Dogmatika deck. I change Schism. Schism lets me banish my 2 monsters to go into Winder. That meets Fleur de Lis, so that negates Winder's ability. And now his monsters gain 500 more attack points, which can be a bit deadly. His Ecclesia outs mine. He tries to attack me directly, but then I just play Scarlet Sanguine, summoning out the Golden Boy directly from the deck. So now he can't out me. He plays Nightmare Phoenix. He pitches a card. Because his monsters have graveyard abilities, he decides to banish both of them, adds Spriggan Watch, sets a card. Spriggan Watch then gets access to his field spell. Then he plays the field spell. Then we draw. Because we drew a trap, we can play Eldlich's ability in the graveyard. Really great. I summon out Ecclesia. That meets his Imperm. Then he plays Punishment on my Eldlich. I banish Scarlet Sanguine, setting Conquistador. I send Conquistador to the grave with my Golden Boy. Then my Golden Boy gets 1,000 more attack points. I summon out Fleur de Lis since he has a special monster from the extra deck. We attack his Fleur de Lis, or then our Fleur de Lis attacks into Phoenix, getting the attack points increase, and then Ecclesia attacks him. We still have that Fleur de Lis, so if he summons a monster from the extra deck off his Spriggans, we're good. Then we banish both Hoquero and Conquistador to set 2 copies of Scarlet Sanguine from the deck. So we still have loads of plays, we still have the field advantage, and then his Ash card lets him send Parlor to the graveyard. What does he top deck? Nothing great, he literally ends his turn. So now we literally just send a monster from the edge deck to the grave to summon out the Golden Boy again, and then we just swing for damage. I didn't have to summon the Golden Boy, I just did it, I was kind of flexing, I was just kind of doing it just for just guaranteed I had the damage on board. So that's it against Code. One last one. This is against a guy called Jazila, I believe he's called. This guy, I think he was a Zombie World player. He plays Unizombie. Unizombies ability. Weirdly, he sends Eldlich to the grave. I don't know why he did the Eldlich play, but whatever floats his boat. I had Cycle Weeder in hand, so I decided to banish Eldlich. So now that's already an Eldlich already gone. I do not have to worry about that Golden Boy. He plays his Place Trigger's ability. Goes into Firebright, goes into Bloom. Then he links his Bloom into Linkuriboh. Bloom weirdly lets him add Baladrosh to hand. This is a weird play. Makes me think he doesn't know how the deck kind of works, but everyone to their own. I summon out Ecclesia. I play Ecclesia's ability. This meets an Ash Blossom. He plays Hack of Firebright's ability to get Jet Synchron. Then we attack over his Linkuriboh just to get it off the field. I set my 3 cards and that ends my turn. Since we can't do anything more, so The set card he had was a Scarlet Sanguine, so he summons out the Golden Boy from the deck. So we know his 1 card in hand's Baladroch. He draws and he puts the Golden Boy. No, also he draws and plays Zombie World. I play Dogmatika Punishment, destroying his Eldlich. I then send Entis because they have the same attack points, and then Entis destroys Zombie World. So then he can't resurrect the Baladroch. He then removes Scarlet Sanguine from play to set to set Hoquero. He then plays Hoquero's ability. Oh no, so then he's going to out Hoquero to summon out the Golden Boy from the grave. I chainlink 1 Hoquero. and then I chain link Scarlet Sanguine. So now Scarlet Sanguine lets me summon out the Golden Boy from my deck. Then because I have Hakureo summons itself, because I have a Golden Boy, I can banish his Golden Boy from his graveyard. So now that outs his monster, and that's both Eldliches gone, and then he literally passes. So I hope this helps guys like thoughts and plays and how basically the deck kind of works. And I shall see you guys when I see you. Take care and goodbye.